Alright, everybody, much peace coming through. FairGrow up in here, just another impromptu type stream. I'm hoping the audio is coming through clear. Put a bit of light here so everybody can view, but yeah, much peace. And before I continue on, let me just stop and give my respect, recognition, and acknowledgement to all the original and traditional custodians of all the land masses around the world, that being the indigenous people, past, present, and future generations, saying that with a hope to broaden the awareness and bring about a bridging of all the cultures on this earth so we can live in a harmonious state, recognizing that the earth is it gives us, it's our life bringer, and we are here to protect it. You know, so we're also where I am broadcasting from in the Adelaide Plains. It's called Ghana country. So with that, let's just keep flowing on from there. Much peace to everybody coming through. If you had come through, nothing really planned, just a bit of an impromptu thing. But what I've been kind of thinking about of late is the situation of the medicinal at the moment. If, like, in regards to the amount of arrests, and people being charged for cannabis-related offences, like the rate of that in comparison to previous numbers prior to the medicinal cannabis legislation coming into Australia. So I just had a little bit of a quick look around. Couldn't really see anything that in depth, but I'll have a bit of a look later. But I'll just put up these two little, like, I guess, websites I found. You check it out. I just typed in, like, cannabis numbers, percentages since in Australia, since, like, the medicinal has come in. But what came up on these two things? So one is the Guardian newspaper. So, boom in unapproved medicinal cannabis products worries Australian experts. So some patients, this is from 3rd of October 2022, so it's pretty recent. So some patients are taking cannabis for conditions where there is little evidence it is effective, GPs and researchers say. So prescriptions for unapproved medicinal cannabis products in Australia have quadrupled since 2019, with half issued for adults aged 24 and under. Researchers and GP representatives have questioned whether the boom has led to patients taking cannabis for conditions where there is little evidence it is effective, given large gaps in the data and the role of cannabis manufacturers in promoting their product to practitioners. Most prescriptions for medicinal cannabis in Australia are for unapproved products, which means they have not been authorised by Therapeutic Goods Administration for legal supply. Practitioners must apply to the TGA through the Special Access Scheme for permission to prescribe the products and show why approved products are not suitable. Since the start of 2021, the TGA has approved more than 200,000 medicinal cannabis prescriptions through the scheme for people who are not severely ill but who have exhausted evidence-based treatments for their condition. There were 122,486 such prescriptions in 2021 alone, compared with 57,714 in 2020 and 25,516 in 2019. So that's a very dramatic increase there. So I'll just keep reading and then we can go back to the inside. So medicinal cannabis prescription approvals by jurisdiction. So there's a few graphs here showing state by state the increase over the years. Obviously, the East Coast states there, Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, being by far the fastest increasing. Basically showing there, physically to the eye, you can't really see it to the graph because the numbers are so low there from South Australia, ACT, Tasmania, and Northern Territory. I might put the link down the bottom of the thing, so if anyone wants to check out themselves, they can do. So I'm here reading, doctors treating terminally ill patients or those likely to die prematurely apply the commonly used process. The president for the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, Karen Price, said medicinal cannabis products should be seen as last resort medication for specific illnesses. Most of the research on medical cannabis products is on 5 clinical conditions: multiple sclerosis, palliative care, epilepsy, nausea and vomiting, and chronic non-cancer pain, she said. The quality of evidence varies and in some cases is inconclusive or insufficient to suggest any benefit to patients. However, if after conventional evidence-based treatments have failed and medicinal cannabis products are considered a viable treatment option, it's reasonable for clinicians and patients to consider medical cannabis. The most common reason for prescriptions was chronic pain, 60% of them, but almost 1 in 4 were for anxiety. This is despite low quality and patchy evidence that medicinal cannabis products are effective for anxiety. Survey from the university's Lambert Initiative found 37% of respondents obtained medicinal cannabis with a prescription, compared with only 2.5% in the previous survey. That's a massive increase, conducted 2 years earlier. The main reason for using prescribed medicinal cannabis was chronic pain, followed by mental health and sleep disorders. It found 95% of users reported improved health. The lead researcher, Professor Nicholas Linters, said people using illicit cannabis were more likely to smoke it, whereas people using prescribed products were more likely to use the oral products or vaporized cannabis, highlighting a health benefit of using prescribed products. A separate paper outlining the rise of medicinal cannabis prescriptions, led by Christine Hallinan from the University of Melbourne's Department of General Practice, found that of the 277,338 medicinal cannabis prescription approvals between January 2017 and August 2022, 50% were for patients aged between 18 and 24. 31% were for those aged 45 to 64. Hallinan said evidence was lacking that medicinal cannabis was an effective treatment for many of the conditions claimed by its manufacturers, although that it did not mean clinical trials might not have eventually showed the product worked. She said increased prescribing had not been accompanied by strong monitoring of efficacy, side effects, and which conditions specific age groups were using the products for. She said patients should be encouraged to use apps to track their outcomes, and this data could be combined with de-identified patient data and prescribing data to better understand the use and impact of medicinal cannabis. At the moment, we can't tell how many patients are actually filling their scripts, she said. For every product on the pharmaceutical benefit scheme, and even many products on the special access scheme, you have a de-identified register of patients, so you can see how many people are actually taking the drug, and you can also link this to other drugs they're on, hospital admissions and deaths data. We can't do this for medicinal cannabis because there's no patient database. Hallinan said the launch of cannabis clinics was one of the reasons of the sharp rise in prescriptions. Some clinics have strong online presence and offer same-day appointments to prescribing GP. Some claim medicinal cannabis can be useful in treatment of a wide range of conditions, including migraine, insomnia, stress, and pelvic pain, without always highlighting the adverse effects or the limited evidence. The RACGP said it was very concerned about the emergence of online prescription services for medicinal cannabis. There are numbers of risks to these types of services offering prescriptions via telehealth or online, Price said. A key concern is that the services are fundamentally responding to a business opportunity rather than delivering healthcare. They won't have the patient's medical history, and these services can lead to fragmented or poor quality care. Many of the major dispensaries operating in Australia are owned by medical cannabis manufacturers and suppliers. On Wednesday, the TGA issued 73 infringement notices totaling 972,360 to three medical cannabis companies for the alleged unlawful advertising of medicinal cannabis products on their websites and social media platforms. The companies allegedly promoted the use of prescription-only unapproved medicinal cannabis products and published references to the treatment of serious diseases such as cancer and epilepsy. Dr. Mark Morgan, a professor of general practices and chair of the RACGP's Quality Care Expert Committee, said the influence of the industry may have led to levels of prescribing not justified by the evidence of efficacy. The industry has been guiding a lot of education, facilitating a lot of the prescribing and leading the marketing of these products, Morgan said. There's been marketing to clinicians and pharmacies about medicinal cannabis which is dressed up as education, but it is not independent, and therefore we have to question whether or not some of the prescribing is following the evidence or going beyond it. Okay, so about the end of that little report there. So interesting, some pretty, what's the word? Standout points, I guess. Maybe the fact of 18 to 24 being the majority of people prescribing and being eligible, and then also the numbers that it's increased actually. So the hundreds of thousands that it went up from the previous years, so 277,000. So about just the numbers that's increased, so it's pretty heavy information on it. So it was 122,000 in this 1 year alone. I mean, compared with a quarter of that in 2019 and basically half of it in 2020. So that's in the year previous and then the year previous to that. So it's doubling every kind of year. It's still not going to the actual point that I wanted to find out. As I said, I just came home and had a quick look. But I want to try and find out, the numbers that have gone down, like the arrest numbers, if they have gone down since, this medicinal has come into play. Has it lightened or lessened the burden on the justice system, or is it basically just the same? It'd be very interesting to find out. I was just trying to see here. There was something really red there. Paper outlining the rise of medicinal cannabis. The rise and rise of medicinal cannabis. What now? Legal cannabis prescription in Australia, 2017 to 2022, by Christine Hallinan and Yvonne Bonomo. Let's see, Department of GP, Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry, Health Science in Melbourne. Okay, abstract. Medicinal cannabis was legalized in Australia in November 2016. By August 2022, there were 5,284 specialist physician and general practitioner prescribers who submitted special access scheme applications to the TGA for the provision of medicinal cannabis prescriptions for their patients. In this article, we examine the impact of the delivery of publicly available and clinical guidance documents, provision and education to prescribers, establishment of the TGA online portal, and launching of cannabis clinics on the number of applications approved by the TGA over time. We considered these findings in the context of the need to align interventions facilitating the prescribing of medicinal cannabis with the establishment of a process to enable the systematic monitoring of patient outcomes. The cumulative number of medicinal cannabis SASB prescription approvals from January 2017 to June 2022 were 258,926, SASB approvals increased at an average rate of 208.55% per month. Conclusion. There has been a rapid growth in prescribing since the legalization of medicinal cannabis in Australia, and this expansion has not been accompanied by parallel processing for the monitoring of medicinal cannabis. The capture of more highly granulated data as found in the electronic medical record, patient smartphone applications, and social media provide an opportunity to monitor medicinal cannabis effectiveness and safety across the multiple prescribing indications. Interesting. So this article probably goes on for a little while. I won't read it. It actually doesn't go for that long. We'll just have a little flip through here. I might give it a go. Right, so background and context. Most medicinal cannabis contains one or more combination of two main ingredients from the cannabis sativa plant, cannabidiol, CBD, and tetrahydrocannabinol, THC. THC, a psychoactive cannabinoid, is currently classified as a Schedule 8 drug in Australia. Formulations of CBD and THC compounds that contain less than 2% THC and pure CBD are considered non-euphoric and are classified as Schedule 4 medicine. Recent changes to the legislation have reclassified some CBD products to Schedule 3 medicine to enable the provision of low-dose, less than 150 milligrams per day of CBD at a community pharmacy. Scientific evidence for the optimal use of medicinal cannabis is still emerging, hence medicinal cannabis categorized as an S8 or S4 substance is still classified by Australian Therapeutics Goods Administration as an unapproved product. Scientific evidence of the medicinal cannabis is obtained from observational data or open-label studies, rather than from randomized controlled clinical trials. While RCTs have long been held as providing the gold standard for evidence, pharmacoepidemiology observational research using routinely collected health data is increasingly being considered as an approach to gather evidence on the safety and effect of the therapeutic, especially in a rapidly changing environment. To date, the evidence from pharmacoepidemiologic analysis indicate there is a potential therapeutic effect between medicinal cannabis and drug-resistant epilepsy, nausea and vomiting, chronic pain, spasticity associated with multiple sclerosis, insomnia, and palliation. The Australian government legalised the use of medicinal cannabis for therapeutic management for specific indications on November 1st, 2016. This legislation enabled the product and prescribing of medicinal cannabis for therapeutic and research purpose. Although legalised, most medicinal cannabis products are not listed on the Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods. Hence, registered health practitioners are required to obtain TGA approval before they prescribe medicinal cannabis products to their patients. Much TGA approval is based on a case-by-case assessment and on the conditions for which medicinal cannabis is prescribed. Localized pathways for the prescription of subsequent access to medicinal cannabis products in Australia, state and territory jurisdictions were not introduced uniformly. Initially, there was a disjointed process to medicinal cannabis prescribing where the prescriber had to understand not only how to prescribe medicinal cannabis within their local jurisdiction, but also how to provide a justification for prescribing. This process was a time-consuming and convoluted, where the prescribing practitioner had to deliver a paper-based application to both TGA and their relevant state-based departments for prescription approval. In July 2018, a centralized national outline portal for medicinal cannabis prescribing was launched. This electronic portal enabled prescribers to launch online a single application directly to the TGA for prescription approval. All jurisdictions other than the state of Tasmania where cannabis prescribing was independently managed by the Tasmanian Controlled Access Scheme opted into this national online system. Interestingly, whilst Tasmania maintained its state-based approval system for the prescribing of medicinal cannabis, TGA-approved data showed much lower rates of medicinal cannabis prescribing per head of population to other states and territories. Registered medical cannabis prescribers, such as authorized prescribers or SAS prescribers, gain approval via the authorized prescriber system via TGA SAS pathways. When medical practitioners need to apply to the TGA to become authorized prescribers, this enables them to prescribe medical cannabis directly to their patients' authorized prescriber script. In contrast, SAS prescribers are required to submit an SAS application to the TGA portal for approval prior to the provision of prescription to their patient. There are two main SAS prescriber applicant categories. The SASA provides expedited pathway for medical practitioners to prescribe medical cannabis to a patient who is classified seriously ill, and the SASB category provide a pathway for registered clinicians, including medical and nursing practitioners, to prescribe their patient for multiple conditions, including a varied severity. I won't continue on this mumbo jumbo. This is obviously just the there's a lot to it. I mean, and it's important to read these little bits because these are, but it's just a little bit of tongue-tying going over the top. It'll probably be boring. If you want to read it yourself, definitely come in here. Go from here. So, of the 277,338 aggregate TGA SASB application approvals from 2017 up to January 2017 to August 2022, most were for chronic pain, 59%, and anxiety, 23%. Smaller numbers of approvals for sleep disorders, 4%, cancer, pain, and symptom management, insomnia, neuropathic pain, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Conditions that each represent 1% or less of the SASB application approvals include that of depression, autism, epilepsy, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, migraine, arthritis, Parkinson's disease, spasticity, multiple sclerosis, and anorexia. Okay, patient demographic across the same period, so patients were aged between 18 to 24. Okay, so that's kind of, this is where that information came from previously, so definitely cool. So I'll just go to this last little bit here, consideration on it. Considerations. Medical cannabis prescribing in Australia has increased substantially over the years since it was first legalized in November 2016. For the first 2 years following legalization, there was little prescribing during this time. Specialists and GP prescribers completed and submitted paper-based forms to both federal regulatory bodies, the TGA, and relevant state health departments, each of which had differing process for obtaining approval for a medicinal cannabis prescription. In July 2018, a national online portal was introduced for the lodgement of SASB applications. This online system streamlined the process for the specialist and GP prescribing of medicinal cannabis by enabling the simultaneous submission of prescription by prescribers to both federal and state authorities, namely the TGA and the state and territory health departments. All jurisdictions adopted this system for prescribing in 2018, other than the state of Tasmania, which adopted it in July 2021. At the same time, additional legislation was approved by the Tasmanian government to permit GPs to prescribe alongside their specialist colleagues. So, excuse going on, I'll just go down to conclusions now then. So, since medicinal cannabis was legalized in Australia, there has been a rapid growth in prescribing the community. However, this expansion has not been accompanied by parallel process for the monitoring of medicinal cannabis, which makes it difficult to establish its effectiveness in different conditions and difficult to detect side effects or adverse events. The capture of more highly granulated data, such as found in established registry, would provide the opportunity to monitor product effectiveness and safety across indications, and would be especially useful when incorporated with input from prescribers, practitioners, and consumers. Okay, cool. So, that's some pretty cool information. So, obviously, with the initial bit too, when they were saying that it's kind of really business focused rather than uh, you know, dealing with the ailment of the patient. I totally agree with that. There seems to be very much the regulations and legislation kind of are bound around that sense, like a structure to this system rather than, you know, being really patient focused. Um, it's pretty. And then with the words with the they're not able to detect it like side effects. Obviously, very minimal as opposed to chemical pharmaceuticals. You know, and with the database there, because I recall, I mean, I'm not saying that this thing is wrong at all, but it's probably what I was referring to is not quite as in depth. But when I experienced the kind of blacklisting for not being able to get prescribed by that certain doctor, when I went to my pharmacy, pharmacist, sorry, who I'd never told that I was, you know, getting this, he was able to go on his computer and have a little checkup, and he could see every time I purchased it and where it was dispensed from, and that timing. But either way, I'll much appreciation everybody hanging out. I'll come and drop a link in a second. I just want to read this info. There's one more thing here. Um, Stop the screen, project the screen. Okay. Where are we at? This one. This one. Oh. Okay, so this one, similar thing, right? I was trying to find out the reduction in numbers of cannabis arrests since 2016, if there has ever actually been any. So, with a quick Google search, I couldn't find the info straight away. Uh, what's going on here? Yeah. It's got to refresh this page. So it says here the acic.gov.au. I'm just trying to find out what that actually stands for. I did have that up on the screen, but at the moment the internet is going quite slow and didn't want to refresh the page, so I'm still here waiting for the page to load so I'm able to read the title, and it's probably taken another 10-20 seconds of me just sitting around here waiting for this thing to load up, and it's kind of loaded, but it hasn't shown any information yet. Right. Alright, here we go. It's really slow, man. Alright, so this is what I was looking for. The Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission. This is their report, right? Page 48. Page 48 is it was in regards to right. So just go through a little bit of quick run through on this one. Let's go. Cannabis key points. Cannabis continues to be one of the largest illicit drug markets globally and remained the most seized drug in the world in 2017. There was a small increase in the weight of cannabis herbs seized in 2017, counterbalanced by a decrease in the weight of cannabis resin seized. Indicators of cannabis demand and the supply in Australia provide a mixed picture, but overall point to a large and relatively stable market. While the number of cannabis detections at the border decreased this reporting period, the weight of cannabis detected at the Australian border increased in 2018-19, and this is the highest weight recorded in the last decade. The number and weight of national cannabis seizures and the number of national cannabis arrests all decreased in 2018-19, but remained high. Yeah, so that was the kind of number I was trying to get at. So according to the National Wastewater Drug Monitoring Program, the population-weighted average consumption of cannabis decreased in both capital city and regional sites from August 2018 to August 2019. So one thing I'll probably point out is just kind of my, opinion or observation is that every time, statistics come out and they say, oh, this is the highest percentage ever, this is the highest number ever, it to me, it seems quite obvious that it would be the highest year by year due to the increase in population. So increasing population means increased numbers, which means increased use. So, you would think that it's going to increase, like in the weight, in things like that. Maybe percentage wise, it could be, you could consider it averaged out. But when they say, 200 kilos is the biggest, well, it's going to get bigger and bigger because there's a bigger appetite for the product. Well, keep going down. Main form. The cannabis is derived from plant within cannabis genus, in particular the two species, Cannabis sativa and Cannabis indica. Cannabis plants can grow in a range of climates as well as indoors through the hydroponic cultivation. We kind of know about this. International trends. So what's this? Based on UNODC data, cannabis remains the most seized drug worldwide. The combined weight of cannabis resin and cannabis herb seized globally decreased 3% from 6,453 tons in 2016 to 6,272 tons in 2017. The weight of cannabis resin seized globally decreased 31% from 1,683 tons in 2016 to 1,161 tons in the following year, ending the upward trend in cannabis resin seizures over the period of 2011 to 16. In contrast, the weight of cannabis herbs seized globally increased 7% from 4,770 tons in 2016 to 5,111 tons in 2017. 49% of the combined weight of cannabis herb and resin seized globally in 2017 was in the Americas, followed by 18% in Asia, 17% in Africa, 15% in Europe, and less than 1% in Oceania. Data for the number of seizures for both cannabis resin and cannabis herb were not available. So, interesting there to see, 2 points there, I guess, that come from me, is that the numbers did decrease, according to like 2011 to 2016. So 2016 being the year that the legalization of medical cannabis came to Australia, but this is obviously international. So, kind of thumb that down or put that down. So we go domestic trends, Australian border situation. The number of cannabis detections at the Australian border increased 666% over the last decade, from 1,454 in 2009 to 2010 to 11,133 in 2018-19. The number of cannabis detections decreased 36% this reporting year, from 17,383 in 27 to 18. The weight of cannabis detected increased 9,144% over the last decade, from 19.6 kilograms in 2009 to 1,811.7 kilograms in 2018-19, the highest weight recorded in the last decade. The weight of cannabis detected increased 212% in this reporting period from 580 kilograms. The 2018-19 cannabis detections include a single detection of 1,500 kilograms. In 2018-19, 32 of the 11,133 cannabis detections weighed 1 kilogram, but less than 1% weighed 1 kilogram or more. So they were all very small. With a combined weight of 1,618.7 kilograms. These 32 detections account for 89% of the weight of cannabis detections in 2018-19. Okay. So it just gets really not confusing, but just like with all this amount of numbers continually, and you read that out, like, you got to pay attention. It's not really simplified and just spoken to you. But people could get confused with all of that, because it just repeats on itself. There's a bit of a graph there going down. Importations methods. In 2018-19, detection of cannabis at the Australian border occurred in the air cargo, air passenger crew, international mail, and sea cargo streams. By number, the international mail stream accounted for the greatest proportion of cannabis detections, 97%. There you go, there's some information for you. Followed by the air cargo, 2%, air passenger crew, 1%, and sea cargo, less than 1%. By weight, sea cargo accounted for the greatest proportion of detection, 83%, followed by international mail, 11%, air cargo, 6%, and air passenger or crew is less than 1%. Cool. Interesting. All right, I'll probably drop the link now. There's just some info I wanted to get out. Actually, there's a little bit more. Here we go with the price. So, price at the street level, the price of cannabis is generally measured as a deal, approximately 1 gram. Nationally, the price for 1 gram of hydroponic cannabis head remained relatively stable over the last decade, ranging between $20 and $100 in 2009 and 10. Obviously, that information for the $100 is coming from, really rural, far out places in communities, which is really disappointing and sad. But that's my emotion and opinion coming through. So anyway, so $20 and $100 in 2009 to 2010, to between $10 and $100 in 2018 to 19. In 2017 to 18, the reported price ranged from $20 to $50. The national median price for 1 gram of hydroponic cannabis head also remained relatively stable over the last decade, $25 in 2009, 10, and $23.70 in 2018 to 19. In 2017 to 18, the national median price was $25. Nationally, the price for 1 ounce, 28 grams of hydroponic cannabis head remained relatively stable over the last decade, ranging between $250 and $500 in 2009 and 10, between $200 and $500 in 2018-19. In 2017-18, the reported price ranged between $200 and $450. The national median price for 1 ounce of hydroponic cannabis head decreased over the last decade from $50 in 2009 to $302.50 in 2018-19, an increase from $280 in the 2017 to 18 period. Nationally, the price for a singular mature cannabis product plant remained relatively stable over the last decade, ranging between $2,000 and $5,000, between $3,000 in 2009 to 10, to between $3,000 and $5,000 in 2018-19. In 2017-18, the reported price ranged between $2,000 and $5,000. The price range for 1 gram of resin decreased over the last decade from between $40 and $50 in 2009, reported in New South Wales and Queensland between $25 and $50 in 2018. The 2018 price remained unchanged from 2017 to 18. Availability. Users surveyed indicated that the availability of the hydroponic cannabis remained relatively stable this reporting period, while the reported availability of bush cannabis increased. In 2019 national study of people who regularly inject drugs, the proportion of respondents reporting hydroponic cannabis as easy or very easy to obtain decreased from 89% in 2018 to 88% in 2018 to 88% in 2019. In the same study, the proportion of respondents reporting bush cannabis as easy or very easy to obtain increased from 77% to 78% in the years 2018 to 2019. Following an overall decrease in availability over the last decade, these figures are similar to the proportions reported in 2010 for hydroponic cannabis, 92%, and bush cannabis, 79%, coming from Stafford and Burns 2011, book there in 2009, and Peacock ETL in 2019. Just keeps going with these dates. In a 2019 national study of people who regularly used ecstasy and other stimulants, the proportion of respondents reporting to hydroponic cannabis use as easy or very easy to obtain increased from 84% in 2018 to 90% in 2019. In the same study, the proportion of respondents reporting bush cannabis as easy or very easy to obtain increased from 75% in 2018 to 78%. These figures are similar to the proportions reported in 2010, with a small increase reported for the availability of hydroponic cannabis, 87%, and the bush cannabis, 73%. Right. They could have worded that a lot better. This is a what's the word? It's a very qualified report coming from this establishment who's got a lot of jurisdiction around, but was a bit mumbly and jumbly to put 30 years consistently. But anyway, the information was said and spread. So we go. Let's last a little bit because it keeps going on and on. As I said, I didn't really just kind of put it out in impromptu. Good information there though, because that's the other reason. There's a lot of it's a very serious topic, and a lot of people have had their lives affected dramatically, through the legal and justice system for a plant which can dramatically help and increase their living standard and benefit them in so many ways. So it's a topic that I'm very passionate about. Just read this little last bit here. So seizures. The number of national cannabis seizures increased 26% over the last decade, from 44,736 in 2009 to 10 to 56,491 in 2018-19. The number of national cannabis seizures decreased 5% this reporting period, from 59,139 in 2017-18. The weight of cannabis seized nationally increased 29% over the last decade, from 5,989.8 kilograms in 2009-10 to 7,740.8 kilograms in 18-19. The weight of cannabis seized nationally decreased 11% this reporting period, from 8,655.9 kilograms in 2017-18. Here we go. This was something interesting. The Australian Capital Territory reported the greatest percentage increase in both the number and weight of cannabis seized in 2018-19. This reporting period, New South Wales accounted for the greatest proportion of the number, 31% of the national cannabis seizures, while Victoria accounted for the greatest proportion of the weight of cannabis seized nationally, 41% of the total weight. Well, so you can have a look there in this table. Oh, is this table 5? Where's table 5? Down here. Okay, so one interesting fact there is that with ACT being the bringing the highest amount of what is the greatest percentage number of weight seized. It's interesting to see that that's where the laws rolled out, for the decriminalisation and the allowance of the couple plants that they can have now. So there's the arrests. The number of national cannabis arrests increased 24% over the last decade, from 57,170 in 2009 to 10 to 71,151 in 1819. Wow, although since 2015 to 16 the number of arrests decreased, the number of national cannabis arrests decreased 2%. For this reporting period from 72,000 in 2017-18, consumer arrests continue to account for the greatest proportion of arrests, accounting for 91% of the national cannabis arrests. There's some more graphs there and some more figures. Oh, okay, we'll just go up a little bit because I've read pretty much the whole thing. So what does it say there on the impact? National impact. Cannabis continues to be the most commonly used illicit drug worldwide, with increases in consumption reported in many countries in Asia and Africa between 2016 and 2017. While there was a small decrease in the weight of cannabis seized worldwide in 2017, it remains the most seized drug globally, with the cannabis herb continuing to account for the greatest proportion of weight of cannabis seized. The number of cannabis seizures and weight of cannabis seized locally by the WCA agencies continued to decrease in 2018, with herbal cannabis continuing to account for the greatest proportion of both the numbers and the weight of cannabis seized. See, they're using the same word over and over. That's really poor grammar, I would say. Anyway, indicators of cannabis demand and the supply in Australia provide a mixed picture, but overall point to a large, relatively stable market. Indicators of cannabis demand include surveys of people who regularly use drugs, police detainees, and wastewater analysis. Alright, so a bit more info. That's interesting to see that it is like, the national impact. I would really hope to see that it did make some difference, I guess. Easy. I'm going to drop the link now. Hopefully the sound and stuff came through pretty sweet. Appreciate everybody hanging around. Because this is important. I want the information to be correct so that people can move forward in strong but progressive ways to build a foundation and a pathway which is beneficial, but also was kind of sincere, but effective. I guess effective probably being the word. Someone, because you got to make the moves yourself. Also, because if we're going to just sit around and talk about what we want to see changed and complain against the establishment, don't expect them to kind of take that into account and pull the way that you want it to be pulled. If you're just going to be sitting there and saying these things because I'm sure that their agenda to make profit for their shareholders or establishment is kind of at the forefront of their mind. So it's going to have to be an opposing force or something else, another option for people out there to make this kind of direct change, or situation that we prefer to see be the change you wish to see, because I don't see any of these companies or things like that just being like, oh, okay, we made a mistake, and not made a mistake, but we're not being as we're not taking these people into account as much and making it as easy for them and making the process as accessible for everybody. So, and I guess I don't have the answers either to how to do it, but I'm trying to read these legislations and find out, and then you go send emails to the relevant departments, talk to these people, because that's going to be pretty much the only way, unless you're going to really just go against the grain and set up your thing despite the laws and legislations and just go for it, no matter the penalties, and you'll just cop the penalties and go for it because you believe in what you're doing. Either which way, much peace. So I dropped the link down there. Go to here, I'll pin the link on the top. chat. And then we can go there. Alright. So, oh, there's a bit of a grrr. So, yeah, what are we all blazing on today? Myself personally, kind of, that's another thing actually, to be honest, kind of looking at, I guess, I don't know, cutting down, but, I have had those thoughts run through my mind to be like, what is it necessary to smoke for like 3 grams a day of medical? And to be honest, I guess, I'm at a point where I can see it's probably not necessary. And it's all, I guess it comes down to time too, like, because I'm at home and it's like doing music, doing art, it's kind of my interest in work. It, I need to put that into account and like regiment, I guess, those things. Because I can see it not being a necessity, like just having medicating in the morning and then really letting it go, letting that last rather than just medicating when you feel like it. Really. And then that's going to lead to me getting used to that and hopefully getting down a little more because the expense to everybody we're talking about, the expense of getting these medical every week, every fortnight, whatever it is to satisfy our dosage, and it does become, it's noticeable, it's very noticeable if you had your income comparative prior to you being on the medical. Now, a lot of your funds are dedicated to this plan, which is, good enough and it's a great thing, appreciative of it, but if it's going to try and be effective to make us productive citizens to stimulate the economy further, then I think the price should go down unless they're just trying to make the stimulation of the economy big through like the purchasing of the cannabis. Oh, cool. So big shout out to everybody. We'll run through the chat. We got Monty's coming through, Banana Farmer, White Ashes, Mika Steve, Ziggy D, and Moza, and Vin, Zaya, what's up, brother? Mr. Sucker Turd. Oh, you got it. And that's about it. Oh, you got the static game. Hey, brother.
Yo, yo, yo. I've changed from the microphone to the AirPods, so the static should go, but my voice might be a little bit lower. Thanks for letting me know there, Vin, bro. Appreciate that. I think it's got to do with like how I've set this stuff up. I've got so many leads and electronics that are all kind of tumbled over each other, and that's causing the feedback. Yeah, because if I move things like if you put a mobile phone next to a microphone, it'll pick up all the static. So easy. Appreciate that. Yeah, and so I don't. It's definitely got to be clear. It's just probably because I mumble too when I speak low. So if I speak with a what's the word? If I project my voice, the airport volume won't really make much of a difference. But anyway, so what do we got here? Just had to bring the shop easy, bro. Easy. No, well, I appreciate you all for hanging around. If the audio is pretty crackly, man, that means a lot because I don't want it to be. But oh, which mic he got? got a jungle mix going on. Dolce, topaz, wedding cake, and a little bit of the super silver. Nice, bro. Wow. So it sounds like a gumbo, tiramisu. Yeah, yeah. And that's true. Because the grassroots is where it's at. Like, and that's another real point that I'm finding, which hits home a lot. Like, when putting the cannabis on a pedestal is really the option to go. I'm grateful for it, but I directly see them as suit and tie dealers because of the fact it's very business based. It's not patient focused at all. There's been a lot of different situations personally and from other people who've had these situations where the transaction didn't go smoothly and there was mistakes made, but there's been no kind of onus or uh, compensation, I guess, from the companies and taking responsibility for it. It's like, nah, bro, once that transaction is done, that's the end of it. So that's really disappointing. And then, what was I going to say? I can't remember where were we at. Were you talking about the Dolce? Oh, that's right. So, and you're putting them on the pedestal saying, oh, it's legal to do it. These guys are great. But then, we've got to give it up to all the passionate planters out there who had supplied us previously, like when before 2016, how we engaged in this culture. It was people who were doing, who just had the passion to put out this herb and get it out to the people. Obviously, there is, and we do see it a lot, especially in Australia. I guess there's the production week side of it. People putting out really low grade product just to make economic, just to make funds and income. But I think that that's the essence. This is the essence, and we have to give respect to that too, and acknowledgement to that. To push all these people aside and say that, oh, just because you're not doing medical now, you're kind of criminal. Yeah, it's a bit no, because in the eyes of these suit tie companies not being patient focused and all being about funds and stimulating the economy and things like this, that's not great. In my mind, that's kind of criminal in itself because you come with this like protection of the government and you're put in a position on this pedestal like, oh, these companies are great, they're doing the right thing, but there's a lot of information of adverse and stuff like that. So I guess just common sense. But yeah, like, because you got to appreciate the culture. It's got to. This is where it's at. Would you prefer to listen to somebody who's like been doing it for 20 years and is about it because he loves it and he wants to do it, or someone that's like has never been involved in this product and really part of was opposed to it because of the legislation and laws, but now that there's a possibility to make some money, they hop into it and are all for it. Like, I'd probably go with the guy that believed in the plan. And then also on that topic, it's when they're talking about deregulation, I would probably honestly prefer that. No regulation, legalize the plant, and let the culture do what it does, and then it'd sort itself out. Because a lot of people might think, oh, well, you're going to leave it to the criminals and the production weed, and it's just going to flood, and it's going to be all these problems. But I really do not see that at all. I see that these people might attempt to do what they want to do and push their product into the market, a low grade product, but it will not last. These things will get weeded out because the people growing the better product are just going to come to the forefront and people are going to go that way. Like, I'm for sure there's going to be instances where they buy the low grade and they're not happy, but these little things are going to eventually weed their way out and it winds apart. And then, so the people with the nice product at the right price for the purchaser with the patient, I guess, in mind, it's just that's going to be a beautiful thing. I honestly see that that's the way it is, because it's not the boogeyman thing. People go, oh, if you leave it to people, it's just going to be terrible. We need protection, we need governance and things. Not at all. You leave it to the people, it's going to be natural and it's going to work out. Like, I honestly, sincerely believe that tremendously. Like, the people with the good product are going to be the ones coming up on top, and their heart is into it. The final product is coming out. It's just not going to be like a strong arm by these like low grade kind of mafias and shit like that. I don't see that at all. Hey, what up, bro? You got a new main 77. What up, bro? Just chilling. Appreciate everybody coming through. Just having a bit of a chat. I had a look through up on these couple of websites here. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. The common sense will just it'll lead the way. And if that common sense isn't allowed to happen, then it's kind of like all regulated, and you're told by somebody, oh, if we don't do this, this is the way it's going to be. Then that's just a really sad state of affairs. Because as Jeff just said, like he said, the organic will work its way through, but similar to what I said, the good product and the good growers, the good shops out there, they will come to the top, and other shit will sink and be thrown away, and they'll have to find another avenue to try and do if they want to do make some income, because this is such a beautiful culture, no doubt about that. Like, so many different walks of life, people come together and really engage with each other. It's amazing, man, And then, yeah, like, even for all that, like, because that just brought a thought to my mind. With all those people who are so passionate about it, they're going to produce these high grade quality flowers. And if they could bring a community together who has no worry about, having to keep it secret or anything like that, it'll just be, a big mix of this greatness coming together to form a new expansion and a new state, rather than these, like, the production bleach just having the go, because they'll just get filtered out. They're probably still there due to just the way the system's established, that criminal element, how they got to hide, and then also the capture of these people lead to the police looking like they're doing the job, and it's stimulating. They get government funding anyway. It just goes around and around on itself, and it is kind of designed that way, isn't it? Because that's the same thing with like the drugs in itself and all illicit drugs. It's basically the justice system and the police do not want those eradicated, because if those narcotics were eradicated from society, they would have no job. Well, in that department anyway, and there'd be no funding, and it sounds like a beautiful thing, but in their eyes, it's a whole. It's just a cycle, and then there's generations of families. Like, this is the whole, is it people's lives at stake? Like, you've got somebody it's incredible. I'm sure you can hear what I'm trying to say. Like, a mother and father, hardworking people, just might get a, like, unfortunately get charged with a possession, just smoking, whatever it is, the most minimal thing. They're not harming anybody, but they'll lose their job, and it might lead them to this and this, and it's just a cycle. And, well, it's just another human being putting this on another human being, like, for this plant. Like, doesn't make any sense to me at all. If that guy's going around maybe cutting up people or something like that, yeah, you want to stop somebody like that. But things like this, no. Anyway, so I will get a bit of a chibbity chop going, I guess. It's been an hour. It's pretty crazy. We go from there. Oh, actually, here's one I made earlier. Do do do. So, how about everybody else? What's going on over there? Everybody got anything to say? On your Ziggy. That's the way, brother. If anybody wants to come up, have a quick chat, have a quick chop, the link should be pinned in the top. Do. All right, what I'll do then, in the time being, I'll go back to the is it the Burner Marijuana Mania in New York? Pretty cool. This goes for like 2 hours. This one. So I'll just watch a bit more of this for a while, and then we'll be out. Please excuse my super fast internet.
They're arrested, man. Making this thing happen, man. Taking this thing cookies worldwide.
Typical. You want to watch something? It'll load, but hey, you're gonna get bombarded with advertisements. Buy my stuff.
It's gonna be amazing, man. Cookies take over New York, right? We are.
Yes, sir. All the finest. All the finest. Real taste maker right here. Real player shit, man. Went up to Washington Heights. I had my boy Gordo crack the fucking hydrant. You already know what time it is. Bye. Yeah, ski on a beat. People always told me I had to go up to the Heights and get the real haze. My brother Gordo is in the Heights, and he said he got some haze. I'm on my way to the Heights to see exactly what they smoke. It's Jimmy, young Jimmy. Yeah. I've been feeling like a goat, bitch. Solo que me está trending, el manojeo, el marianteo. I be really getting bacon, little bitch. Whole lot of gang shit. You heard? What's up, gang? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I guess this situation is kind of what I'm kind of talking about. If they deregulate and just let the current culture formulate itself, like the people that are providing the good product for the right, the right reasons, they just want to just put the good stuff out and just have happy return customers and things like that. This is a situation now in New York. Like you've got, I think it's in between regulation, so there's they're not really enforcing stuff at the moment. So they're the people who were seen as, I guess, street dealers and stuff. They're able to pop up establishments and then partake in business, which is a beautiful thing. And it's coming to what I'm saying, like they're giving something which people want, so people are going to go there rather than they're just putting something out there, just trying to make money due to the fact that it's illegal and people can't get it. So, I think my point is coming through. So we'll just continue on this, see what he's got to say.
Hey, man. This is the Heights, man. We have a town. This is where the haze was birthed? Yeah. This is my guy Gordo right here. I've known him for a while. Had a good time in Miami. We shot the No Borders video. They contributed a lot to the La Plaza album. They brought the energy. We're in New York. It's only right I pulled up on him in his neighborhood, see what he got going on. I just got some real haze, the real Uptown haze. And that's haze right there. My boy got a brand, Smoke Up. I had to tap in to see what he got going on, man, for real. You called me, you said, come see the culture. I said, you right, bro. Let me pull up. I love the originality, man. Like, this is personality. Each neighborhood got their own personality. Y'all just bringing flavor, man. What's been the hardest part about building a brand right now, like in New York City?
Everybody got their own brand going on, but I feel like brands just look into the money, you know what I'm saying? Like, they forget about the ground, you know what I'm saying? Like, the people,
What's your biggest fear, like, when regulations come?
Shit, they got to look out for us. We could pay taxes, too. We just don't got the M's to put up for a store, the M's to put up for a license,
So this is...
Right. So he just made a huge point there. Like, he's willing and he's really wanting to, partake in business so that he can slowly, step by step, grow his establishment and keep it going. He said they are willing to pay the taxes, but they don't have the startup capital, which he said previously in this video is something like $60 million to get the license to be a dispensary, and that's just one of the fees which is involved. So you got to have some heavy funding and investors to be to get your foot in the door. So these guys are willing. They've got their product. They've got the customer base to have a successful business. Because obviously it went on for years. So if they were just allowed to change their lane and come into a tax-paying situation, amount by amount, not just this huge capital, that's a beautiful thing. And then I guess what I'm seeing it as is like a corporate takeover, pushing out these people who have been there for the right reasons for so long. But I'll keep going with it, see how it goes.
This is the pussy power right here. Smell that right there. My boy Powers Up that did Gary Payton cereal milk. That's that's a Y crosser.
Smell the Y.
That Y right there. That shit tastes like vanilla or horchata right there. That shit's fucking.
I smell a big Y in there.
You smell that Y in there, right?
Oh yeah.
That's called the pussy power right there. This right here is called the weed. Just called the weed.
The weed.
The weed. Everyone's coming with the same kind of shit right now. I gotta kind of sit back and plot and watch the market. I think these are both different right here. These are different what's out right now.
The texture's different.
Texture's different. Roll that shit up, brother. So has it always been like this? You could always just chill out here and blaze it up? Nah, hell no.
This just became cool, and that's what people enjoy now. We used to hide to smoke. Yeah. New York, bro, I used to get locked up every Friday and stay in the boogers for 2 days. So a dub coming up here to cop. I'm from downtown. I used to come up here to buy weed when I was younger. And you used to get caught, pulled over with a blunt, you're going to jail. I think if you're 30 years old and you never got locked up for weed, I don't know where you was at. You was not burning in the highway in the car. You was not doing none of that. This pink pussy.
Pussy power.
Pussy power? Yeah.
I can smell it.
Smell like it? It's like, smell like that good. Why? But it tastes like.
It's intensified,
like
right?
velvet cake.
Yeah, only real players appreciate that taste.
That shit is fire. Right now, like, what you see right here, this is like what people that started the culture out here.
I always heard that, though. Everyone always said, go to Dykeman, get the A's, go to Dykeman. That's like the standard smell and look right there.
Yeah, this is paper. You can't smoke that in paper.
That's like chocolate. Yeah. That's the only
you gotta smoke that in tobacco paper, you know? Yeah.
Other than
you gotta smoke it in Dutch. You cannot smoke piff or nothing else. No backwood or nothing. 1 leaf. 1 leaf. You gotta read.
1 leaf only?
Yeah.
1 leaf only. My man's a pro right here. All the Dutch. Man. Real uptown.
Yeah, I want you to roll that up so I want to experience, man. I want to experience the 30-second roll, haze and a Dutch. I like how you rolled that. This was rolled by a guy that rolls in 30 seconds. This is legendary haze. This is the hype. I ain't smoked a blunt like in 5 years, literally. That tastes like the 1990s right there. I just took a time capsule of the 90s. This is perfectly rolled, by the way. You would think my man rolled this up with a machine. He did not. We just watched him roll it by hand. This is the original Uptown Haze. This right here is special. This is an experience.
Yeah, that's an experience. That's definitely New York. Like New York.
We smoking haze. Outside. They used to be able to search you out here for no reason. You could be walking down the street, they could stop you right away and search your ass. That was racist, that was crazy, but to go from that to this is pretty trippy to see.
Like, I've been in LA for a long time. I've been in Oregon. It's nothing like New York. When that shit was legal.
Have you ever popped one of those up before? I've only seen it in movies and shit. We out here, man. We doing legendary shit. The haze got me feeling lovely. I've always wanted to see that shit, bro. I used to watch the movies growing up. I always wanted to see that shit.
Classic. Alright. It's been an hour and 15 minutes. Much peace to everybody. Kicking in that lane expensive. definitely be around later. I guess there'll be some lives on, so I'll see you there. Do appreciate you guys watching. I hope some cooler info came out there. Just stay fresh. Keep the culture alive, man. High grade only. You know what it is. Recognize nature has a remedy. Much peace.